In today's tutorial, I'm going to be showing you the very basics of the Stardew Valley Tileset. If you don't know, a tile set is like a sticker book for 2D game design. You might not realize it because of Stardew Valley's really organic style, but every asset in this game is made up of tiled squares. Stardew Valley does an amazing job of breaking up patterns and creating smooth transition between these tiles. So to be more specific, today's tutorial will be covering how to create a simple grass texture, a simple dirt texture, and the tiles needed to blend those two together seamlessly. Now in today's tutorial, I'm going to be trying something a little new. During this video, I'm going to have this graphic in the bottom left hand corner. Depending on which aspect of the video I'm covering, the appropriate tile will be within the square. Now the reason I'm doing this is because I know a lot of people don't necessarily watch the video in one sit through. Sometimes they lose their place, sometimes YouTube forgets where you are, sometimes you're not signed in. Whatever the reason, this new feature will allow you to find where you were at and find which aspect of the tutorial I'm currently working on with ease. That being said, let's get started. Hello everyone, and welcome to the Stardew Valley Tileset tutorial. First thing we're going to do, new file, 256 by 256, RGBA, transparent background as always. Now, if we zoom in and we take a look at each one of these blocks that Sprite provides us with as the background, and we go to our rectangle tool and we cover the entire square, we see in the bottom left hand corner that it says 16 by 16. And that is exactly what we want. And what that's going to do for us is going to tell us exactly where each block, it's going to tell us exactly how big our blocks are for the game, because Stardew Valley is a 16 by 16, uses 16 by 16 blocks. The characters are actually 16 by 32, so they are 32 tall, 16 wide, and most of the textures are 16 by 16. So we're going to create all three textures right here in this one file. So the first one we're going to work on is our grass texture. So we want to grab a simple green, somewhere in the midway between light and dark. We're going to take our filled rectangle tool and we're just going to fill it. Okay? Next thing we're going to do, we're going to brighten up and slide it over to yellow, just a bit. We want a little yellow for our bright grass. In Stardew Valley, the grass texture, the recurring shapes are just like 1, 2 over, 1, 2, 3 over. We also don't want it to look like a square, so we're going to break it up. Let me clarify. We don't want our pattern, when this texture is laid across an entire field, we don't want it to look like it's a square. So we're going to break it up by doing this. 1, 2, 3, and then over would be over here. So now when this pattern is multiplied, you see how it meets up properly. So we're going to do that a few times, but we're also going to keep it random. We don't, there's no right way to do this. As long as we keep with the shape, we'll have something that appears to be a Stardew Valley texture. And that's it for the light. Let's go with the dark. Now the dark is more on the bluish side. So let's go get a nice dark blue-green. Let's see how that looks. And again, same pattern, same 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2 over. Now, anytime you're unsure of how it's going to look, just highlight the whole thing, hold Control. You'll see the double arrow pop up, and you can just click and drag while holding Control. Okay? And you can see how it's going to look repeated. Now that we got our darks, we're going to do our mid colors. So take the dark, drag it over into the gray area, brighten it up a bit, and just kind of speckle these around. Actually, we want it a little bit more blended. There we go. It's not too crazy, just a little subtle. Very subtle. Just kind of speckle these across. And we're going to do the same thing for the light. We want to select the light, and then we want to bring it down. Maybe turn it a little green so it blends nicer. Like that. A little more green, actually. That's a little too blended. There we go. Perfect. And again, speckle these about wherever you want. No right way, no wrong way. No pressure. Okay. So now that we have that, let's repeat that and see how it looks. And I'm happy with that. And that's it for the grass texture. It's that simple. Now you can play around with all these colors, and you can change them from autumn to spring to summer. So let's actually do that really quick. Let's use the awesome replace color function. So what we do here is we hold Alt to select the color picker, select the color you want to change, and then using your right mouse button, you're going to select what you want to change it to. So I want to change it to like an orange, and then you hit Shift R. As soon as you hit Shift R, it's going to take your primary color and change it to your secondary color. It's as simple as that. Okay? So then let's do the same thing for the other ones. So we want a bright, that's pretty good. For the darker, more like a red, right? That's good with me. The mid light and the mid dark. And now we have a wilting grass texture. It's that simple. Okay, so I'm going to undo all that, go back to where we were. Okay, so the next texture is our dirt texture. So for this texture, we're going to start out with a mid orange yellow, very bold. We want it pretty close to the top corner because we want a very bold color. So let's fill in. It's a little too yellow. Let's bring it down to, yeah, that's perfect. All right. Next thing we want is a slightly darker, not much. We want a very subtle change here. More orange. Little more subtle here. You know what? Maybe just change it to orange. Don't even change the brightness. Don't change the boldness at all. Just slide it to orange. And it automatically becomes darker because orange is darker color than yellow. So the more orange we go, the darker it looks. Now, we're going to start painting our texture. And the most important thing here is what you do to the sides, connect it to the other side. Just like the grass texture. We want a continuous pattern that does not show that it is tiles. We want it to be a continuous, the most continuous pattern as possible. So we do it on the, what we draw on the left side, we connect to the right side. Okay? And we want a few of those just to ensure that the viewer's eye doesn't catch the trick. Okay, now we're going to do a bright yellow, so slide it over to yellow. Don't change anything, just yellow. And we're going to do the same exact thing. Very random, wherever you feel like the highlights should go. I really don't think there's any right or wrong answers here. As long as you don't overdo it, honestly. And you don't connect the sides. If you don't connect them, you're going to get a square. And it's going to look like squares repeating. We don't want that. We want to trick the eye. So let's see how this looks. What we're going to do is we're going to blur it. We have to move it away from the grass texture for some reason. Even when you select the blur tool, pulls the color from anything near it. So we're going to turn the opacity down to around 50. And we're just going to blur it. I'm going to start over because I wasn't consistent. One thing that we want is don't let go of the mouse button before you've covered the whole thing. We want a consistent blur because it's going to be textured, so we don't want any inconsistencies on the corners, on the side, or anything. So just make sure it's all covered and do it again. Keep going. Make sure you cover the whole thing so it's a nice consistent blur until we get something that we're happy with, and then we can, and I'm going to try it right here. So let's see how we got. All right, I'm relatively happy with this. Except for, I don't know if you see right here, we've created like this square, very bright yellow square. I'm going to get rid of that. I think we didn't hit it with the blur tool enough or something. Might even do that to get rid of it completely. Alright, let's see how that works. Yeah, again, we get like a square right here. I'm going to get rid of that. And these things happen. Okay. And the reason why the square looks so weird is because it's an unnatural shape. It's not an organic shape. It's very unnatural and it draws your eye. I'm happy with this texture. It gives the impression that it is patches of dirt, and yeah, that's the dirt texture. So moving on, now we're going to create the texture that blends these two together, and that we can start to create pathways and inconsistencies to make our landscape in our video game or whatever we're creating look more organic, like Stardew Valley. So what I'm going to do for this one is I'm going to duplicate these textures to simulate what our map would look like in our video game. Okay? So I'm going to do 2 rows of the dirt, the grass. I'm going to move these over. And then I'm going to create 2 rows of grass. And then 2 more rows of grass here. Okay? So our objective here is to blend the dirt and the grass together. Most games, Stardew Valley included, will simply move onto the dirt texture and draw over it and simulate what hanging grass would look like if grass was hanging over a dirt path. So let's do that. Actually, one thing that I want to do before I do that is to change the grass texture. I'm not happy with the colors, so I'm going to brighten it up just a bit. I'm going to make these the light color more green. I don't know how it got so bland. So, excuse me while I just fix this. There we go. Alright, that's much better. Much more green and luscious. Okay. So don't get overwhelmed. We're still working in just this 16 by 16 slot. Okay, so just to show that, I'm actually going to get rid of all this. And we'll build that back up later. I just want the one. Now, we have to be super careful not to change what's going on in the grass texture. We're only... Oh, actually, let me copy this dirt texture first. That would have been bad. Alright, so now I have an actual dirt texture, and now I have the blended texture next to it. That's what we're working on. So basically the blended texture is just the dirt texture with a little grass on it. It's that simple. But what we don't want to do is we don't want to change what's happening in our grass texture. We want our grass texture to be exactly the same as it was. So we have to make sure not to touch any of the pixels in the grass texture. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to start drawing some overlapping grass. Okay? Just like strands of grass, blades of grass, excuse me. A little bit of a rough edge. And what else we can do to blend it would be to, say, start a blade of grass up here, and then finish a blade of grass here. Okay, so now let's shade it in a bit. We want some highlights at the top that kind of walk down. And we want some shadows. Not too much. Remember, I know it's tempting to start shading the pixels over here, but don't. Unless there's like a fundamental change that you want to, like that corner, that hard edge wouldn't have worked. Alright, so now we're going to create a new layer for our shadow. Okay. We're going to keep it at 225 just to show you what we're doing. All black, go all black. And we're going to start painting in a shadow. It's pretty simple. Okay, now we're going to reduce the opacity of that shadow and see how it looks. And it's decent, but there's a couple things I want to change. So if you run into this problem where it doesn't look realistic, I'm giving you permission to change your grass texture. First, copy your grass texture. Okay. Now we're going to change it slightly, just slightly. What don't we like about it? I don't think we like how the highlights just end. Right? I think they need to, this highlight's gotta go. Alright, let's see how that looks. repeated. Can't forget the shadow layer, which I should have baked on there actually. So if you want to merge it down, just right click, merge down. Now we have one layer. So what we're going to do now is we're going to select the left side of the path. We're going to duplicate it, edit, flip horizontal, and now we have the right side of our path. I don't know, what do you guys think? I'm not extremely happy with it. I am showcasing how this all works, so that's kind of great. Actually, you know what? I have an idea. Because I'm not happy with this, I think it could be much better. Obviously, if I did this in 20 minutes, if I had more time, I would totally rework it. If I was doing this for a video game professionally, I would totally rework it. But what I want to do is I want you guys to do this tutorial, and I want you to send me your texture. I want you to send me your texture on, I want you to send them to me on Twitter, actually. If you can send them to me on Twitter, I will display the best ones in my next video. This is something I've been wanting to do for a while, and I think it's a great way for us to interact with each other. And that's it. This is the first Stardew Valley Tileset tutorial. In the next one, I'm going to be doing accessories to add to this path, like rocks, pieces of wood, maybe some furniture, maybe a fence, whatever, anything and everything. You can also suggest those to me in the comments. So whatever you want to see, leave a like, leave a subscribe. Don't leave a subscribe, just subscribe. That would be better. Yeah, so just tell me what you want in the comments. If you want a rock if you want a rock object, if you want some wood, you want a fence post, you want anything you want, anything that you think you need help with, I will try to fit into my next video. Alright guys, that does it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this one. One thing before I go, if you like the feature with the tile in the corner, please let me know. If it was helpful to you, please let me know. I want your feedback. I love your feedback. It helps me, it improves me, and it makes for these videos much higher quality, and it also gives me a place to start from, so I can use your guys' feedback and my creativity to make these tutorials better, because that's my goal going on in the future. Alright, that's it for this one. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.